Ballymena has, has kicked off. Has kicked right off. There are riots and all manners of things happening in Ballymena at the moment. I'll get into the article. Disorder after alleged sexual assault was racist thuggery, says police. Police have said that 15 officers were injured in disorder in Ballymena, which they described as racist thuggery, pure and simple, and targeted at ethnic minorities and law enforcement. Why? What happened? Well, we'll get into that in a little minute, because I've got people who are actually there, who are sending me messages and videos of all the stuff that's happening, and I can promise you that the media are massively misrepresenting what's going on. Violence broke out following an earlier peaceful protest over an alleged sexual assault in the County Antrim town. A 29-year-old man who was arrested has been charged with riotous behaviour, disorderly behaviour, attempted criminal damage, and resisting police. North Antrim MP Jim Allister said that the violence was very distressing. The traditional unionist voice, TUV leader, said the context for the initial protest was that there had been significant demographic change in the area because of unfettered immigration. And yep, everybody's seeing that everywhere. Earlier on Monday, well, in the West at least, earlier on Monday, two teenage boys appeared before Coleraine Magistrates Court accused of sexually assaulting a teenage girl in Ballymena. They spoke through an interpreter in Romanian to confirm their names and ages. So basically, standard fare, two foreigners assaulted a native girl. Happens all the time, unfortunately. Happening more and more these days. Their solicitor said that they would be denying the charges. The Prime Minister's official spokesman described the events in Ballymena as very concerning. Obviously, the reports of an alleged sexual assault in the area are extremely distressing, but there is no justification for attacks on police officers. No comment. While they continue to protect local communities, they said. What have the police said? Assistant Chief Constable Ryan Henderson told a news conference that some people were clearly intent on violence on Monday night. It is because the white man's tired. The white man's tired of stuff like that happening. The white man is tired of his daughters being molested. The white man's getting fed up of it. So the white man is now went in and he's starting to do something about it. And I don't know if you know this, but when Northern Ireland kicks off, it fucking kicks off. Ooh, things get interesting when Northern Ireland kicks off. Not fun, but interesting. The fact that they had some weaponry ready to throw at police would say to me that there was some degree of pre-planning from those involved, he said. They've done this before. Like, you know that the people that live in Northern Ireland, they know how to have a fucking riot. The only people that are as good as them is the French. If only the French were as good at fighting other people as they are themselves. But anyway, in Northern Ireland, like, LA right now is a riot. Northern Ireland have riots. Like, they have police officers getting gunned fucking down and shit like that. Like, I mean, knock on wood, hope that doesn't happen. You know, let's not return to the old days, but still, they know how to have a boogaloo. ACC Henderson said the police service of Northern Ireland had no information to suggest more violence was likely. He said there would be more arrests to follow, and his officers were working to identify those responsible, examining the video and online footage. In an earlier statement, the Assistant Chief Constable said his officers would be speaking to people affected to support and reassure them. He added there would be a significant policing presence in the town in the coming days. I would strongly urge anyone who was involved in yesterday's violent disorder to reflect long and hard about their actions. They will have consequences. I also appeal for calm, he said. What happened in Ballymena on Monday? Hundreds of people took part in a peaceful march hours after the court appearance. The crowd of men, women and children gathered close to the town centre and walked along Larne Street and then Queen Street. Brave name to have there. No, well, maybe not in Ballymena. Later in the day, violence broke out. Police said it began when a number of people wearing masks broke away from the peaceful protest and began to build barricades, they love doing that, and attack properties on Clonavon Terrace. Now, why were they on Clonavon Terrace? Why were they attacking one particular house? Are you going to mention it? No, you're fucking not. Over several hours, people threw petrol bombs, bricks and fireworks at police, and 2 patrol vehicles were damaged. This is just called any time the fucking walk's on. But anyway, Police said that they fired one baton round, which hit a rioter. 6 homes in total were attacked, with 4 of them damaged by fire and 3 people evacuated. A number of businesses were damaged, with windows and doors smashed. Some of the injured police officers required hospital treatment. Family barricaded an attic. Are they finally going to talk about what actually happened? Alliance Assembly member Shan Mulholland told MLAs at Stormont that a family with 3 young children had to barricade themselves into their attic. She said that they feared they were going to be attacked as they heard people rampage in the downstairs. It is only by the grace of God and by the actions of the police service of Northern Ireland and the fire service last night that we are not looking at something more serious, Mulholland said. Democratic Unionist Party MLA for North Antrim, Paul Frew, condemned those responsible for the disorder and called for calm. Frew said his thoughts were with the victim of the sexual assault and with whom the community gathered to stand in solidarity. That powerful message must not be lost or diluted by those who choose destruction over justice. I feared this would happen, Frew said. I mean, you're saying justice. You're going to do what they do everywhere else. You're going to give the 2 boys a little slap on the fucking wrist and tell all of us to stop being so racist and bigoted. That's what's going to happen. For weeks and months, I have been warning about rising tensions, and sadly, those warnings have now come true. There is no justification for what happened. Violence is always wrong. Well, I have a quote where when you make peaceful change impossible, you make violent change inevitable. Right? People are getting fed up of this stuff, and you are ignoring them. You are ignoring these people, and you've been ignoring them for far too long. People are getting fed up. Basically, the white man will no longer accept rape. I'm sorry, but the rape will stop, right? We don't want it. We don't want it in our society. However, there are demographics of people coming over here that just love a good fucking rape, and I don't believe that rape is compatible with Western values. I just don't think it's nice. I think it's a pretty mean thing to do. Not that it's quite rude to rape someone, if you ask me. So that's why I would kind of like a society that doesn't have that. However, whenever we're saying, hey, there's like big groups of people coming over here and they keep doing this stuff to our kids, we're too sharp racist. Oh, you don't know those Tommy Robinson supporters and everything. And basically, all of our concerns are completely flung out the window and we're made to look like a bunch of racist bigots. I mean, we are, right? But that doesn't mean that we're not making good points. Right, and basically, when we are approaching the government with very, very, very serious issues, and we are getting told to shut up, guess what happens? Guess what happens? But anyway, Jim Allister's comments about Monday night's disorder were criticised in the Assembly by Matthew O'Toole of the Social Democratic and Labour Party. He accused the TUV leader of conflating a whole range of issues in a way that is deeply irresponsible and deeply unhelpful. O'Toole said politicians had a responsibility to use our office and our platform wisely to give leadership to people who want leadership, not to simply use an appalling act of violence against a young woman to inflame tensions. Sinn Féin's Philip McGuigan, who also represents North Antrim, described the violence as disgraceful. He appealed for calm and urged political leaders to use measured language and avoid stoking tensions. He added that the thugs who set out to cause havoc and misery last night must be brought to justice. McGuigan said the police needed to be allowed to continue their investigations into the alleged sexual assault. Justice Minister Naomi Long said that she was absolutely appalled by the disturbing scenes. There is absolutely no place in our society for such disorder. Where were you the last 50 years? And there can be no justification for it, she said. The Police Federation for Northern Ireland said the attacks on officers were totally mindless, unacceptable, and feral. Are these officers new? I don't understand, because most of the guys in the PSNI is like, they're throwing Molotovs at it. Yeah, they do that. We call this Tuesday. But anyway, Federation Chairman Liam Kelly said he had no doubt that police officers prevented a pogrom with consequences too painful to contemplate. The Kilbackie arson attack. Police are also investigating a report of arson in Tobber Park in Kilbackie in the early hours of Tuesday. Officers said that shortly after 20 past midnight, a petrol bomb was thrown at a vehicle which went on fire. Damage was caused to a nearby property with a woman and 2 children inside. There were no reports of any injuries, and it is also being dealt with as a racially motivated hate crime. International migration in Northern Ireland. According to Northern Ireland Assembly research published earlier this year, about 293,000 long-term international migrants arrived in Northern Ireland between 2001 and 2023. There were also a lot that arrived in the hundreds of years before that, but that's a story for another time. During that same period, During that same time period, 231,000 left. Ah, I'm so happy we got to leave Palestine and got to come to a place with no religious sectarianism. Just some poor little Mohammed standing there going, "What the fuck? What the fuck is this?" Meaning there was a total net international migration of 62,000 people in just over 2 decades. Poland, Ireland, and Romania are the countries from which the highest number of migrants have come to Northern Ireland. I mean, Ireland. You can't migrate to Ireland. It's still Ireland. Anyway, a conversation for another time. The Poles, I don't care about the Poles. I like the Poles. They're totally fine. The Poles, I enjoy the Poles. They should still all stay in Poland, but I still really like the Poles. Remember when Poles were everywhere and they all just left? A lot of people are still talking about the Poles. You know, the Poles all just went back. Like the economy in Poland improved, and they all just went home. Do you remember? I lost a lot of friends. But anyway, Romania, no. Anyway, about 3.5% of the population in Northern Ireland are from an ethnic minority. That compares to more than 18% in England. England's getting to the 1 in 5 stage, same as Ireland, and Wales, and about 13% in Scotland. Oh, well, that's not ethnicity. Last time I checked, we were 96% white. Get crap those numbers up anyway. In the Mid and East Antrim Council area, which includes Ballymena, the 2021 census said that the area's population was just under 139,000 people. According to the Assembly research, the net number of international migrants who have moved into the area between 2001 and 2022 was 4,900. Now, they didn't go into why the guys did what they did, so I am just going to go into my phone and double check my messages because I have a few things here. Da 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 da. So let's have a look here. So basically, a friend of mine who was not involved in the riots, not involved, said that Catholics were joining in the protest as well. Both communities came out into the street, and basically the reason that they were in that street is the crowd were going towards the homes of the rapists. Right? They went towards the homes of the rapists because they were basically going to get them and their families the fuck out of there because they don't want people like that in their neighborhoods. Now, I want to bring back exile. I want to bring back exile as a punishment. It's a case of if you're not good for the community gets to exile you. The community gets to kick people out. I want that. I want that back again. Oh, won't that cause like ethnic division? But yeah, well, however, basically you want your ethnicity to survive, then that's what you have to do. Otherwise, you're all going to be put into this melting pot where everybody's fucking murdering each other, right? And it's basically again, rape. I would assume is not compatible with Western values, and I don't like it, and I wouldn't like people like that in my community. And see if a community gets together and kicks people like that out, good. I like it when communities get to dictate who gets to come in and who doesn't get to come in. That is when you get peace. That is when you get a nice homogenous community where people can live in safety, right? That's what I like. I like when communities manage themselves. And basically, the government came in and basically goes, no, we manage your communities for you, and we're going to do it in a way that basically keeps you in permanent fucking conflict. Remember and vote, right? It's just, it doesn't work. It does not work. Basically, I want government to go all the way. But basically, if government is to exist at all, it will be micro governments at the local level, where communities get to decide and dictate what happens with their own communities. Because if you don't allow that, you get stuff like this. You get people literally marching into streets to drag rapists out of their homes because the government won't fucking do it. So see if you don't want the people doing it, then actually start doing it yourselves. I mean, you're the government. You're supposed to protect people and give them what they want, except you're not doing any of that, which means you're against the people.